Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Just ahead of Ryan Johnson, we hope. It's Tuesday. All of our guests today are sponsored by Parker Marine. Make your boating experience the best it can be. For more info, visit parkermarine.ca. So last segment, I'm getting the move it along signal from Ryan Henderson, our producer. You know, Ryan Johnson is going to be calling in soon.
Hasn't called.
Move it along. I'm going to interrupt your thought here, Don. And lo and behold, Ryan hasn't called us yet, or you haven't called Ryan yet.
You got to let this go. Ryan's calling me. I'm not calling him.
Okay.
You got to let this go, me interrupting the thought thing, okay? It was not a thought.
Well, it doesn't take much.
It's like saying that I was interrupting you painting the Mona Lisa or something. Like you were stumbling around about where Sid Seixeiro now works.
What's going on here is art. So that's not a bad comparison. So let's do the poll question while we're at it.
It's hopping, it's bopping, it's bumping. It's good.
We're talking about the poll question.
The poll question. Does it bother you? Oh, there's the phone. Yeah, okay. Don't. Oh my goodness.
Don't let it bother you.
You want me to pick it up? It's right here.
Okay.
No, but I can hear it. It's right here. This show's off the rails. It's right from the start. Can I do the poll? Does it bother you that Elias Pettersson has left Vancouver to join Quinn Hughes in Michigan? 568 votes already. 26% say yes, it does bother me. 73% say no. It doesn't matter, like you said, Donnie, if he's skating at UBC or in Michigan or whatever.
Ryan was upset about it.
About him going to Michigan?
Ryan Henderson, yeah. A lot of Ryans today, too.
Yeah.
Right? You know that there's this team my kid is trying out for. There's 5 Ryans on it.
Really?
I think it's the second most popular name in the National Hockey League.
How about if they're on the ice at the same time and the coach says, Ryan!
I know. It's trouble.
Don't you usually go last names at that point?
Thanks, Ryan. I think the coach has probably figured that out.
Buddy. Thanks.
Okay. We're joined by another Ryan, Abbotsford Canucks GM, Ryan Johnson. He served as GM of the Utica Comets after 4 seasons, after 13 seasons in the National Hockey League. Ryan, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, guys. How are you?
No problem. I've been able to very well. Have you been able to settle in Abbotsford?
It's been good. We've obviously spending a lot of time here in Vancouver. We've got a lot of moving parts, kind of getting the dressing room ready, things on the business side, coming together, and a lot going on. But we're getting there and excited about the end of this week and getting main camp up there and getting our kind of whole organization to experience the building and the people, and we're looking forward to it. So
I know things could change, Ryan, but what comes to mind when you look at the roster Abbotsford is likely to have?
Well, I think we've got a real good balance of, I've always said we've got to make decisions to support our big team and keep us competitive as possible up top, and at the same time, you've got to be cognizant of making sure that you're not blocking young guys or prospects that taking ice away from them. So we were very methodical in our approach. Well, we've got, I think, what are some competitive battles that will be going into training camp and positions up for grabs. So you never are clearly sure how it will filter down, but I like the makeup of the group. Like I said, we were very strategic in the players that we targeted in whether for defensemen 7 through 10 or forwards 13 through 16, 17 of our organization. And I've said all along, I think this is the strongest organizationally we've been in a long time. So,
hey, Ryan, we mentioned you spent 4 seasons in Utica as GM. And last time I checked, when I look on a map, there's some distance there between Utica and Vancouver. What about the advantages of being so close to the Canucks right now?
Well, there's a ton of them. I mean, obviously, in a cap era, to have the flexibility to move players, down the road and back. I know with our Utica proximity, sometimes we had to, 2-3 days in advance plan things. We had to work on flights through the night to get guys in, or if we needed a player to be able to get in and take warm-ups, even in a precautionary situation, it was arduous to say the least. And so I also think for our organization, for our coaches, for our trainers, even for our players to have the organizational support from our big club right down the road, I do feel like we are two teams kind of working in unison now, that everybody pulling on the same rope with the understanding that if there are any issues or anything needed, we have the support an hour down the road, which is huge. I know from management or from either departments of strength and conditioning, from our medical to equipment, that that they feel a part of things and have a little bit of ownership on what goes on in Abbotsford moving forward, which is huge for us.
Hey, Ryan, let's get to the rookie camp. You're on the ice on day one. Talk, first of all, about the kid that everyone's talking about, Vasily Podkolzin. How did he look?
Looks good. Obviously, he's a powerful kid. He's got a great skill set, but he's got a great detail to everything he does. It was great to get on the ice with him, having our skating coach work with him. And then see them up close and in competitive situations or in detail work that we wanted to make sure we accomplished with them all week, of little things that we know Travis is going to find important, and look, when we do eventually start to evaluate them this week, I wanted to make sure that they had some things that they were focusing on that are important to Travis and important to the organization. So it was a great week for him and some of the others.
Danila Klimovic, you got to make a decision on him soon, I would presume, Ryan. Is he going to go to main camp, and then you got to decide whether he goes to Quebec or Abbotsford? Where are you with him?
Well, yeah, it was great to get him on the ice. He's a big kid. He moves well. His feet, even from the last time of just watching film on stuff, it looks like he's taking a step there. And you got to recall too, he's been in a KHL camp. He's been in the Belarusian Olympic. Like he's been up and going now for a while, so he looks good and almost looks like he's in kind of a mid-season form. We're going to give him a long look here in the main camp and into next week, and allow, as we always do, allow the player to dictate where he ends up. But I'm excited to see him in a game environment or a training camp environment with some of his peers, and that'll tell us where he fits in.
All right, the other one for me is Zach McEwen. I wanted to talk about him, Ryan, because you watched him in Utica a lot. You were a big part of his development there. He's still not there as an everyday NHL player, still gets healthy scratch. What does he have to do, Ryan, to be an everyday player?
Well, I think if there's, Zach has faced quite a bit of adversity in the last couple of years. He was to a point in Utica where we felt we had developed him along and got to a place where he was dominant in the American Hockey League and didn't belong there. And it was time. I felt when he come up, as you guys recall, had some success early with scoring some goals, and I think the pandemic won in regards to some of his training and lack of training camps and things like that, and also unfortunately the loss of his father. I personally know as a player how that affected me in my on ice and kind of mentally, and it took me a few years to get to the right place, and so again, Zach has dealt with that, and in a pandemic, and I think finally this summer to be able to get home, to be around his family in a normal training environment, I think we're going to see the best Zach McEwen that we have yet, and he's got all the makeup to be an everyday player. Physical, he can score. He's got toughness and an element that maybe we don't have. So I look either way for him to have a good showing here over the next couple of weeks.
Okay, we're talking with Ryan Johnson, Nick Patan, Kyle Burrows, Brad Hunt. No shortage of local players joining Abbotsford or just joining the Canucks organization. Was that by design, Ryan? And what do you think playing locally means to them?
Well, it was absolutely by design. It was something way back into March. I was speaking with our pro group on and saying, okay, guys, we're moving this team to Abbotsford. I want us to go through our normal process of identifying players and talents and people that we want in our group. But I also want you to notate that if they are, BC kids or Western Canadian kids that may add to our culture in the sense of they've likely been Canuck fans in the past. They know the history of the organization. There's a certain amount of pride for players that maybe play locally, and those are people, if they check our boxes as far as the player and the character that they bring to the table, I want them. I want them in our group, and I want them to feel the pride of the organization. And if they do end up in Abbotsford, that it is something that they're going to be guys that will push below for spots and keep accountability here in Vancouver for players that maybe aren't playing well, but at the same time, they're going to be the community will mean something. The fan base, not just in Abbotsford, Fraser Valley, the province, it'll mean something to them. And so certainly it was something that I wanted to identify heading into kind of the free agent process.
Yeah, we've been talking about that for years, Ryan. Both of us feel that's a real smart move. I'm sure you're happy to hear it. It's official. It's a smart move. Hey, Jack Rathbone and Ole Ulevi, you saw them play a lot down in Utica, or at least Ole a lot down in Utica. How would you compare them as young defensemen?
Well, very different players. And I think one thing with Ole, the process with Ole, and again, he had to deal with some injuries, but eventually really formed an identity as we all know how smart a player is, how well he moves pucks. He sees things that a lot of people don't, but he became a very important penalty killer. He was a warrior for us there as a shot blocker, became tough to play against in his own zone and physical. And it doesn't mean, taking away the other parts of his game. It just added to him, and it gave him an identity as a pro that I think has really helped him in his transition here to the NHL. Jack is a very dynamic player in speed. The offense that he creates on the offensive blue line, his feet give him a lot of opportunity. He's been learning just, to control his skating in the neutral zone a little bit, sometimes over skating, defending the rush, and even in the D zone. Sometimes your skating can put you on the wrong side of things, but he is as coachable as a kid that I've ever been around, a wonderful human being that is only going to get better this year, even after some of his brief experience at the end of the year, or even his time in Utica last year was vital for his development.
Okay, Ryan, before we let you go, nobody as a forward blocked shots more or better than you did during your playing career. Who's the best, and it doesn't have to be a Canuck, who's the best shot blocking forward in the NHL right now?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, you guys might find this odd, but I encourage young players not to do it to the extreme. I want them playing. I want them on the ice. Mm-hmm. So there's certainly. I'm trying to think of. There's especially the way a lot of teams defend now. You see, everybody shrinks the small ice and take away the middle of the ice, and so it's gone from the days, I think, where there were certain players that did it. Now it's almost an expectation that everybody has to do it. Everybody has to get in the lanes, and so it's different as opposed to almost like each team had, or not every team had a guy, but the teams had one guy that was really willing to do it more than others. But now it seems to be kind of a group effort. That's for sure.
I put you on the spot there. I apologize for that. Ryan, a lot of people pulling for you. Thanks so much for this. All the best.
Okay, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
You bet. Abbotsford Canucks GM Ryan Johnson.